Good morning, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. And my wife, if you're listening, you get control of the remote, but only if you listened. Strategic podcast. It's our 25th year of marriage this year. Yeah, really, she deserves a round of applause. And as you can imagine, they've all been perfect. There's been no challenges, and it's just the easiest thing in the... No. Okay, so my name's Trevor, and what does that have to do with charitable giving? Well, I asked a friend of mine just this week the strangest question. I said, why do you give to charity? And I thought I'd have a pretty normal answer. And he said, well, if I'm really angry, like, I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to do with that. I was asking, but then as I thought about it, it was really if something had upset him and he thought that donating for a cause would help fix that. And that's what I thought, oh, fix it. And then I thought at Friends Church, sometimes I get challenged here. I don't know if I ever get angry, but I get challenged. And maybe that's about fixing me. That's certainly one of the reasons that I donate. My wife would also say I need some fixing, so that's also relevant to that topic. For whatever reason you guys donate and support this wonderful cause, and there's so many of us who do, thank you. It's kept us going, it keeps us progressing and getting just a little bit better, so that next Valentine's Day we can just be a bit smoother. And if you haven't donated, this is a good place to put some dollars, to put some financial resources. It gets well used, and we're really proud of the work that gets done at Friends Church. Have a great Valentine's Day. I'll let you know next time I'm up here if I had control of the remote or not. We'll see, eh? Guys, have a great day.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you. That was fantastic. You know, I remember the night when I came home from working again late. Some of you have heard this story before. This isn't the first time I've told this, but Kathy was waiting for me at the door. And I knew things weren't good. And she said, I need to get away for a while. And I set down my keys, and I didn't know what, like, are you going out with someone, like, for coffee, or you going to a late show, or what are we, and then I looked down and saw the suitcase. I said, what's going on? She didn't tell me that it was over, but she said she couldn't keep doing it the way it was going. She said things felt broken. She felt empty and alone. She felt distant from me. It sounded a lot like that song. She's like, if this is it, I'm out. Now, I knew things weren't great, and we had gone through some rough patches. But I was like, Kath, like, it was like a gut punch. I begged her. I said, you know, you don't leave. We can figure this out. That was the start of a very long season for us. That doorway conversation began a season of frantically trying to figure out what is missing, why is this not working? And perhaps that's why I'm so passionate about what we're talking about today over these next 4 weeks. Because I can tell you, much of what we're going to talk about was a game changer for us. You know, it doesn't seem to matter who you are or what your personality is. Introverted, extroverted, we all thrive on meaningful relationships. Relationships that have strong emotional bonds, where there's this connection We're wired for relational connection. We crave it. You may not know it. You crave it. Like something crazy or tragic happens, is there anything more amazing than having someone who understands right there looking you in the eyes, where you don't hardly have to say anything to just get what's going on inside of you? You see something funny. Is there anything greater than when you're with someone who's laughing at the same thing, finds it just, it's so hilarious, they're laughing with you? Oh. You know, you do something proud, you're proud of, and to have someone notice, look at you and say, you are amazing. That was incredible. Oh. Even to have someone that needs you, that's calling on you, it's going, man, I miss you, or I want you in my life, or can you help me? Oh. These are normal emotional connections that we have with people all the time. Let me ask you something. What do you appreciate most from the relationships that you're involved in right now? What is it you crave from the people that are in your life? What lights you up that someone does for you? But getting these needs met, whether it's meeting the needs of someone or getting them met, man, that is not automatic. It doesn't just happen, right? What complicates it is when little things happen. People do certain things. We do certain things. Cause friction, cause frustration. Someone asks me for something, or says something to start a conversation, and I just botch it. Maybe I'm not paying attention, or I get sarcastic, or I'm bored, don't like what they're talking about, and so I kind of get dismissive, or I ignore them. And within seconds, it's like all of a sudden something goes sour. And it happens both ways. It can happen both ways. But all of a sudden, the person is either shut down or blowing up or somewhere in between. And it's like, it's not major. It's just like this little paper cut that happens. And then it's like the trust kind of drops a bit. In the end, whatever was hoping to have been achieved, it's gone now. It's like the person saying, forget it. Paper cut. Kathy and I were dying by 1,000 paper cuts. Little things. It wasn't a major thing, it was little things. But they were adding up and adding up. We didn't know it at the time, but on a regular basis, a relationship needs maintenance. You need time to be able to look back at what's happening. What are we feeling? What's going on here? And you need to perform some maintenance, like lawnmowers. You need to pull the spark plug. You need to empty the old gas. Hey? You need to scrape out the deck underneath, sharpen the blade. And all of a sudden, it's like the thing starts sounding normal again. Starts having some power behind it. There's some sizzle behind it. That's the purpose of this whole series that we're beginning today. We want to help you do some relational maintenance because you're all in relationships. And it's Valentine's today, and it's great if you're in a romantic, but this isn't exclusive to romantic relationships. This is every relationship you're in, whether it's with your kid, with your dad, with your brother, your coworkers. And here's the good news. The little things that we're going to talk about are not major. They're not like monumental things that you got to do. Oftentimes, the things that maintenance requires are just little things. It's amazing how the little things can change so much. If we can get back to doing the little things, it can be shocking what a difference it can make. And it's funny. Oftentimes, you'll hear these little things and you'll go, oh, shoot, I've done that. Yeah, you've done these things. And often you did them early on and then we forget. So it's a callback. This is what Dr. John Gottman He's a world-renowned psychologist, author, prolific author. He learned when he opened his apartment lab at the University of Washington. They dubbed it the Love Lab. You heard of this thing? He started off with one goal. He says, I just want to know what makes marriages succeed or fail. I want to figure it out. So he built this apartment that looked like a home, and he invited couples to come in, some that were very healthy in terms of their relationship, some that were right on the ropes. And it was wired up like the Big Brother house, like there's mics, there's one-way mirrors, video. People would come in and stay for a day or two or whatever, and he would just record it. Well, over months, he developed all this video footage, and he began poring over the video. Now, at the time, the popular consensus was that the best relationships are the ones who can divulge and share and be transparent, be vulnerable with each other. The best ones are the ones that aren't scared to share anything. That's what he was expecting to see. He was expecting to see people, the best couples, opening up their lives and sharing their vulnerable secrets, their hidden fears, their sexual frustrations, and the things that they want, opening up with each other. But after collecting and viewing hundreds and hundreds of hours of video, he found very few examples of self-disclosure. There were only a few heart-to-hearts that he watched. Instead, what he observed were many exchanges like this. Hey, honey, can you give me a cup of coffee? Yeah, I'm just flipping the pancakes. Just give me a second, I'll get it. Hey, did you call your sister? She seemed upset the other night. No, I didn't. What do you think was the matter? You got to see this meme. Shh, can't you tell I'm listening to a podcast? Like these kinds of everyday interactions. That's what he was watching. Even couples who scored really high in terms of their relational satisfaction spent most of their time talking about breakfast cereals, mortgage rates, headlines in the news. That's when he began to wonder, hey, wait a second. Maybe it's not the depth of intimacy, the conversation that matters. Maybe it doesn't even matter if the couple agrees or disagrees. Gottman saw two things that he began to wonder about. How well do these people bid for connection? Bid was his word. And how well do they pay attention to each other no matter what they're talking about or doing? So then he goes back and he starts rewatching all the footage. And he begins to see couples facing a certain set of choices at every turn. The wife reads a funny little tidbit in a magazine to her husband. She's bidding for a connection. She says, hey, listen to this. She starts reading it. Gottman and his team start looking in, and they're asking one of three questions at that point. Okay, she's bid. Now, will he look up and smile? Will he ignore her? Or will he snap at her to be quiet? One guy points to an ad in the flyer for stereo equipment. He's going, oh, I really like this stereo. Oh, they all lean in, right? He's bidding to her. He wants to show her something that he likes. Will she acknowledge his interest? Will she look past it to the other flyer advertising the big shoe sale, going, oh, look at this, turn away? Or will she just scowl at him and say, really? Another stereo? The topic of conversation hardly mattered in these couples' willingness to connect. That's what they found. Some seemed determined to ignore their partner no matter what, no matter how riveting or how mundane what they were talking about was. They watched one woman completely ignore her husband as he tried to tell her about a crazy car accident he had just witnessed. She was deadpan, hardly paid attention. Yet another couple seemed entranced with each other as they told stories about how their mothers baked bread. Just into it. Once Gottman and his team began coding the interactions and comparing them to tests of relational satisfaction, it was clear that these early interactions in the first few seconds were definitive moments in these relationships. They were hinge points. By choosing to turn toward the other, to turn away from the other, or turn against the other in their bids for connection, no matter how ordinary or small, that initial reaction established a foundation that could determine the future success or failure of that relationship. In fact, the pattern became so strong in Gottman's mind, he has come out boldly numerous times in saying, you come into the love lab and I'll tell you within 5 minutes of whether or not you guys are going to fail or you're going to succeed. So this first week of this series, I want to talk about bidding and responding. Not complicated concepts, but man, does this get overlooked. Every day, you and I will make bids to each other out of natural desire, need to feel connected with the people in our lives. We'll say hi to the clerk at the grocery store. I walked into Costco one day. Whenever the lady seems to be having a tough time, I always say, hey, look it. I heard that this stuff was all free today. And she looks at me like, and then I start smiling, and then she starts smiling. Why do I do that? I don't know why I do that. It's a bid for connection, and it feels good when she's laughing. And then we're having a good time. We'll crack a joke with a coworker when we walk into the office. We'll say, I love you before we leave for work, perhaps, or when we go to bed at night. What are these? These are bids for connection. They come in an infinite variety of styles. Each of you have your bidding styles. Some are really easy to interpret, to understand what's wanted. Some are barely indecipherable. They can be verbal. They can be nonverbal. You can smile. You can wink. You can smirk at someone. It can say a lot, can't it? It's harder with the masks. I'm smiling away and someone doesn't know I'm smiling. I'm like, and they're like, oh, okay, you're okay. All right, good. Squinting, yeah, you can see. They can be highly physical, a little pat on the back, a little slap on the butt, kiss, a hug. They can be intellectual. You can share an opinion or an observation. Just simply walking in going, that's cold, to someone you don't know can be a bid for connection. They can be sexual. They can be non-sexual. They can be high or low energy, funny, dead serious. When we make bids clearly and boldly, we can leave little doubt to the person we've just bid to what it is we're after. Hey, Chloe, I want to come work for your company. You do? Okay. Brandon, I feel hurt by something you said last night, and I'd like to talk about it. Hey guys, what do you say we all get together Sunday for like happy hour over Zoom and we catch up? These are direct bids. Like, you're not wondering, oh, what are you thinking? They make it easy for people to know what you want and to respond to them. Usually in life, though, our bids aren't that clear, are they? They're not that bold. In fact, some bids leave us wondering, like, was he just hitting on me? Or was that meant to be a joke? I didn't find that funny. But I don't know if he was joking or not, so I don't know if I should be offended. Jared says to Chloe, I've been reading about your company. Wow, real exciting venture. Yeah, it's been busy. We can hardly keep up with the demand. So you're hiring in a lot of different areas, I assume. Yeah, of course. Why? Oh, no reason. Megan's slamming the cupboard door. Whoa, that scared me, Jared says. No response. Is there something wrong? No. Okay. Joe says, it sucks that we used to always get together for drinks every week. Yeah, really sucks. You know, I heard about these guys that do these happy hours on Zoom. They're so cool. Huh, that's neat. Reasons we engage in this fuzzy style of bidding are many. Most often because we're trying to avoid being vulnerable. You know, it's hard asking for something and having the person go, no. So we hint. We kind of drop little notes every now and then, verbal or nonverbal, hoping people will pick up on it and go, oh, hey, you know what? We should go out sometime. Oh, really? Oh, that would be amazing. We get cryptic. We get hyper subtle. The problem with fuzzy bidding is that though it might prevent you from being vulnerable or risking rejection, often people don't pick up the cues. We miss the opportunity to respond the way you're hoping. Let me ask you something. Do you have anyone in your life that doesn't pick up the cues very well? Leaves you kind of going, geez, figure it out. Kathy was thinking that with me. She'd been laying down lots of subtle cues. I wasn't picking them up. Husband, you know, and sometimes it's not fuzzy. Sometimes it's the fact that they're negative bids. You know, husband says to his wife, you know, how was your day? She says, hectic, as usual. And he says, well, obviously you were too busy to even think of calling me today. In the first few seconds of a conversation, just a little negative bit like that. Can you imagine what his wife does when she hears that? What's the chances that she's going to respond by going, oh, what was I thinking? I should have called you. Pfft. She would have said, well, what's wrong with your hand and finger and your phone? Think of how different the outcome would be if the bid came out in a much more positive way. How was your day, honey? It was hectic, as usual. You know what? I missed you today. Man, I'd love to just hear your voice, even if it was just like for 2 minutes in the day. How do you think she would respond to that? She says, you know you can call me. Oh, yeah, I know you're busy. Tell you what, why don't we take turns calling each other? We can just say hi. Love that. Different outcome. But negative bidding doesn't get us there. That's when things go south, right? We say something with a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a, take that. And then that person says, oh, it's on. But asking for something is tough, and especially for some who maybe have a history. They come from families where it was difficult for ask for what they wanted. Kathy was in this position. We learn more now. We're able to step back and look at some of the stuff. She grew up in a large family, 5 kids. Her dad was from an immigrant. Both her parents actually were from immigrant families from the Ukraine. Focused on making ends meet. I mean, it was just desperate times, all hands on deck. Kathy was the youngest of 5. She learned early on that if she wanted anything, it was pretty much on her to get it. you had to have a pretty urgent need to get a lot of attention around her home. We realize now in some subtle ways she didn't feel entitled to ask for the affection and the attention that she was craving from me. She didn't feel entitled to be able to say, no, you're not going out tonight. No, you're not working late tonight. I got a little message for your boss. Guess what finger I'm holding? Like she didn't feel like she could do any of that. And so she was just going along with it. And I didn't know. Like, I knew she wasn't like crazy about it, but I thought she understood. She would say things like, well, I suppose you're working late again tonight. I'd say, yeah, probably. And I wouldn't see her purse in her lips. Or maybe I just looked past it. I don't know. Then I'd come home and announce to her that on my day off, I'm going to go golfing with the guys. And the body language really get interesting. Then finally, she would hit her limit and say, how much of this am I supposed to take, Jarvis? And I'm deer in headlights, not picking up any of these cues. Like, how do you fix that? How do you turn that thing around? Gottman says it starts by knowing what you need. Knowing your relational needs. At the time all this was going down, there was this book that was a bestseller. I was frantic. I went to the bookstore. I was like, someone's got to know what to do here. It's called His Needs, Her Needs. Ever heard of that book? Anyways, it's a classic. So Kathy and I, we both got a copy. I said, okay, Kath, here's what we're doing. We're going to read this together. Anyways, there's one exercise. We go out, and it's about discovering your relational needs and asking for what you need. And it lists all these different relational needs you could have, and it says, you pick your top whatever number, and you pick your top whatever, and then you talk about it. So that's what we did. I said, you pick your top 3, I'll pick mine, and let's discuss. So Kathy starts, I said, you go first. So she goes first. She says, my number 1 is, she begins telling me. And I'm like, what? It's not sex? Like, whoa, okay. Well, that's weird. Okay, so anyways, she's sharing her needs, and I'm like, wait, what? That's your number 1? Huh. I said, well, here's mine. And she was like, okay. It was like revelation. So we're going back and forth. Here's my need. And I'm like, okay, so non-sexual affection. What is this that you speak of? Sorry, too much information. Anyways, so she's describing this. I'm like, that really matters to you. She goes, yes. I'm like, okay. All right, we'll give that a go. So how often would that have to happen? Like, spell it out here. Now, this might sound like, Jarvis, you dumb. Like, I was missing her. And as this began to happen, and I could tell, just her writing her needs out and saying, this is what I'd like, it was difficult for her. But man, it was game changer. Game changer. Gottman says it starts by knowing what you want and knowing what you need, being able to ask for it right up. Let me ask you something. How well do you understand your needs? What is it you need from people? Do you need conversation? I love competition. I remember telling this guy I got to know really well over the last while. I said, I just love competition. It's like, he's a golfer and I'm a golfer, and he's not like overly competitive. And so I had to kind of school him. I said, like, sometimes I like to trash talk a little bit. Don't take it personally. Like, I might like to get in your kitchen, kind of rattle the cage a little bit, I said, I just love doing that. I don't know, it's something weird about me. I like to feel the... And so he's like, really? Okay. All right, well. So then he's like, it wasn't really part of his. So then he starts chirping him. And I'm like, yeah, that's it, buddy. That's it. He's like, cool, man, is that all you got? Like, man. I'm standing over a putt. He's like, oh, geez, I'd be nervous about this one. I'm like, okay, hey, wait a second here. There's some rules to this. But I love it, being able to talk this out with the people in your life and saying, hey, this is what I like, and them acknowledging it. How comfortable are you asking for what you want? How willing are you to put yourself out there? Maybe it's time to up your bidding game. Think deeply about the things you appreciate from the people in your life, from your parents. Dad, I really appreciate when you just ask me about my kids. You might not realize it, but that means a lot to me. Or I just appreciate when you ask about my partner. You don't often bring her up. Like little things. Let's move on. There's the art of bidding. Now there's the art of responding. This is what Gottman was talking about when he spoke of the three things people have that opportunity to do in that moment when someone's bidding. You can turn toward them, you can turn away from them, you can turn against them. Obviously, of the three, turning toward someone is the most productive response you can give them. Dan asks Liz, you want to go for lunch? That's his bid. Liz looks at him and says, that would be awesome. What kind of food were you thinking? That's turning toward them. When you turn toward people, you help them feel seen and heard. Look what I found on sale. Whoa, that color looks amazing on you. That's turning toward. Successful relationships, no matter what they're talking about, have the habit of turning toward each other. Regardless of the bid, the response says, I hear you. I'm interested in you. I understand you, or I would like to understand you. I'm on your side. I'd like to help you. Now, whether I can or not, I would like to help you. I'd like to be with you. Now, whether or not I can be, I would like to be with you. I accept you. Even though I might not accept your behavior, I accept you. If you've ever dated anyone in the early days of the dating, man, you got this down cold. You are interested in anything they're saying. Oh, I love opera. Really? Tell me about it. I've never been. No, I've never even listened, but I'd love that stuff, I'm sure. We do it. We will fake it. But I'm into you, and I want you to know I'm into you, and so let's figure this out. Yeah. In a perfect world, this is how we would respond to people's bids for connection, but we don't always. Sometimes we turn away from each other's bids. Hey guys, dinner's ready. Guys, that's it. That's the last time I'm making supper. Whatever, right? Oh, sorry. I'm coming. I'd love to go cross-country skiing sometime. Babe, you really need to take up downhill. Like, that cross-country skiing. Customer says, I'm really disappointed in how you've handled our account. Yeah, well, you know what? I've been really busy. These are turning away responses. Worker approaches his boss. Excuse me, Mr. Brady, I was wondering. Not now. Oh, what a beautiful sunset. Did your sister ever call you back? It's almost like whatever the bid was, it's like you didn't hear it. You're just dismissing it. When people turn away from one another, it makes you wonder, are they intentionally being dismissive? Are they simply just being mindless? According to the research, people rarely intend to be malicious when they're turning away from people. They're not trying to necessarily, not always, but often, commonly they're not. They're just kind of in this autopilot mode. You ever get stressed? You ever get preoccupied? Someone's talking, it's like they're talking right through you. You're seeing right through them. You're thinking about that thing that's happening at work. You're thinking about something you shouldn't have said 15 minutes ago, or whatever. It's like, oh, sorry, what was that? Forget it. Parents of young kids, we can do this. Mom. It's like, block them out, right? Dad, I want to show you this. Talking, hey, where's my, Dad. Don't hear a thing. It's easy. But don't be fooled. They learn how that works. And then we scream when they don't respond. Oh, it's no rocket science. But turning away has not a desirable effect. According to Gottman, though, the most destructive choice we can make in responding to people's bids for connection is to turn against them. Dan asks Liz, you want to go for lunch? Is that all you ever think about is eating? Worker says, hey, you know what? You got a minute? I'm just having troubles with this procedure. Make it quick. I cannot afford the time to be holding your hand. Dad, can we pull over soon? I gotta pee. Why don't you ever go before you leave the house? You never learn, do you? These are turning against responses. They make it hard not to think, that's mean. Or, that's not called for. They have a powerful way of saying, your need for my attention makes me angry. I feel hostile toward you. I don't respect you. I don't value you or this relationship. I want to hurt you. Gottman calls them in his one book, The 7 Principles for a Healthy Marriage. I don't know if you've ever heard of this book. I'm telling you, there's one chapter in there that scared the living crap out of me. He called them the 4 horsemen. Criticism, defensiveness, stonewalling, and contempt. Eye-rolling, scowling. Oh, I have these in my repertoire. When they persist, Gottman would say, your days are numbered. Snide, cynical, sarcastic remarks. Sometimes I would make them unconsciously. Dismissive tones. Oh, I'm just so embarrassed. And every now and then, it can come out. And I get that look from Kathy. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, and this is kind of can be what becomes normal when needs start going unmet. You start bidding and it gets turned down or gets turned away or turned against. And then it's like, oh, resentment builds. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what, screw you. And then the other person starts bidding. You're going, no way. No way. And then the resentment builds. Then the 4 horsemen come out. And the spiral starts. Screw you. Oh yeah, I know what you need. You ain't getting any. Oh, you want to play that game? Yeah, well, I know what you need. When that spiral starts, let me tell you something. Suitcases start getting packed. How different would our relationships look like? The people that are coming into your mind as I'm talking today, how different would they feel if we got this bidding and sorting, bidding and responding worked out? If when that bid comes out from our kid, from our parent, from our sibling, from our spouse, our partners, and we turn toward them, how different would they feel? How different would it feel if we could just be straight up in a positive way, bidding for something we want? Crazy thing is, this all really happens, and like it can happen in the first few seconds of your interaction with someone. Like this. It's just that first few seconds to turn toward. And doesn't even mean that you have to do everything they're asking you to do. That's not it. You turn toward them and say, I hear you. I see you. I might have to say no to something, but you matter to me. What is it? What's going on? Not turning away or turning against. This isn't new. This isn't new. They come up with these fancy terms like bidding and responding and love lab and all that kind of stuff. But hey, we've been doing this right from the very beginning. In fact, one of the masters in this, Jesus, he was this master bidder and responder, this guy. Zacchaeus. As he's hanging up in the tree watching him as Jesus is talking to the crowds, hey, we're going to your place for lunch today. Okay, you're on. Let's go. He's in the garden. He looks at his guys. He says, I am in such a world of hurt right now. Could you stay with me? I just need you right now. And responding. He'd have these throngs of people all over him. There's this one story of this couple who had kids. They wanted Jesus to pray over their kids. And they keep trying to get Jesus' attention. They're trying to weave their way into the crowd to get him. Finally, his entourage turns to this couple and says, would you stop it? The guy's busy. Can you not see that? Jesus catches wind of it. And he goes, whoa. No. Bring them here. Come here. I'm sorry about that. No, bring them here. Bring your kids here. Hi, what's your name? Hi, Johnny. Hi, Susie. Come here. Come up here. Tell me about yourselves. Another time, a prostitute comes in, wanting so badly to be with Jesus, to just see him, to be close. And all his guys are going, no, Jesus, she's bad news. She's bad news. Don't. She's like, come here. He was a master at helping people feel seen and heard, valued. Okay, you know what to do. You know what to do. You got to get out there and bid, and you got to respond. You got to turn toward people this week. Simple lesson. Maybe not so simple. Concept is simple. You can do this, though. Get out there and bid and respond this week. Look at, if you haven't picked up his books, The Relationship Cure by John Gottman, fantastic. 7 Principles, another great one. You want to develop some tools? Good stuff you can get reading. All right, next week, Vince is up. I think you're talking about emotional heritage next week, are you? That right? There are reasons you look for certain emotional things in other people to connect emotionally in certain ways. A lot of it stems from your heritage. Understanding your heritage and how it worked for you growing up determines, well, it just gives you wisdom in how to interact with others. Vince is going there next week. You are in for a treat. Anyways, I'm done. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.